Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. It's Tuesday, I think. It's been a long week already. It's been a week for sure. See if I can get my legs to wake up fully. That is the most ridiculously screwed up chat message I've seen yet. It's so bad. Is that how bad it's gotten? Problem solved. Bye now. It's just pure icons at this point. It's ridiculous. Now, I need you on top. That's why I couldn't see anything. Fixing my windows, don't mind me. Alright. No, Zwift, I don't want to join that, thank you. Whew. I never put on my second headphone. Duh. That's why I could hear things well. I was like, well, that's weird. I hear things so clearly. I'm not listening to my own head. It's a weird thing. Alright. I'm gonna redo this route, which I've already done after Swift Shorts started. So I'm sad I have to do it again. I didn't even just do this, I raced it. Even worse. Punch in the gut. And then at some point, I'll do the final one, which I think is actually a route badge for me. Because I haven't finished that one. So, this will be number 7. I won't actually get anything out of this. This is purely for closing in on 8. Just kind of ease into the warm-up. Get the body settled. Gonna have a very hard race ahead of us, which I'm really only doing for the route badge. I don't have any real interest in thinking that I have a chance of winning unless there's some really similar style people, but I don't think there will be. There's a lot of climbing. Right out of the gate, too, which is going to be brutal. So, I'm going to have to carefully warm up. I might actually push a little bit on the little kicker here. I say kicker. It's a little bit more than a kicker. This thing's a bit of a bear. It's just a long, drawn-out drag. I would say anything over a kilometer long doesn't really count as a kicker anymore. Is that something I've made up? Absolutely. Do I think it's good? Yes. The logic I'm going to go with, at least. See if my legs shake out. Try to stick around 2.5 or so. So I don't want to go too deep on build lactic. But I don't want to go too light and have my body not prepared. So I can tell my body's not warmed up. This spike in my body's like, what are we doing? Why? So we'll back off a little bit on the next yellow section. We'll push a little bit again. Like I said, key. Not going into red. Like, as in like lactic. I shouldn't be yet, but I definitely want to get my body a little bit more aware of what we're going to do. Because otherwise it's just going to be, my body's going to figure it out as we do it. That's not great. I want the ability to push for a little bit, recover for a little bit, push for a little bit, recover. Ease my body into it. That's why it's not like we're going 100% right now. It's highly likely we'll be going harder than this up that first start. Highly likely. Oh, the frame rate on those cars flying. Oh boy. That's not good. Ooh. All right, buddy. You've had some hints. Last little bit until we get some nice reprieve. This will be the last little push for now to wake up the body. It's crazy feeling this outside of the tiny races because I was so fatigued in the tinies. Pretty good little blocks there. Wake the body up a bit. There we go. Now it's mostly downhill and flat until the last little kick. And that should be 7 routes done. And that is a little less, that's probably between a fifth and a quarter of the total amount of climbing that we'll be doing in the race. It's going to be brutal. I'm very curious. Depending on where I am, at a certain point, I might try Beeble's strategy that I saw him do. It's clever. Very much depends. Because I could see that being, it's 50-50 whether it's good or not. For him, where he was, it made perfect sense. Just depends on where I'm at that point. Which I may very well be in a similar situation. Likely. It's very likely. If you've watched Beeble's video, you'll understand. Otherwise, this is a very confusing conversation. But I want to play it by ear and not say anything until the race actually happens, so... Completely forgot we didn't finish at that crossing there. Further. All I know is if I don't get gains from everything that I've been doing lately, not just on stream, I'm gonna be upset. I've been so active lately. Give me a reward. 20 minutes. Cool. I'm definitely not going to do the Swift Games route. No, that's too much climbing. To do it, I'd have to push too much, and it's not a good thing right now. So, this will be a good, nice little rolling spice. We'll go hang out with the pace partner for a bit. Probably do one last little effort here. So we'll have plenty of time to cool down. Thanks, Pookie. Don't want to grind that much yet. It's too much. There we go. 7 out of 8 done. It's not too bad. One left. It's not a fun one either, which is annoying. Good bit of spice in the legs. Go ahead and jump into the pens to reserve the spot. Waiting. Always takes so long to switch worlds. Zwift. Oh, Zwift. This is very slow. I'd love to know how to make this faster. Alright. So that is now set, so we're good there. Alright. Are you... What? No. What? Oh, I realize that's my doing. That's not its doing. Okay. I can't be mad. Greatest London flat. What are you doing later? Flat route, London flat. Nah. We'll do this. Oh. This will be where we kind of chill for a bit. Got less than 20 minutes, so. I swear, you lose like 60 seconds every time to it loading. I don't understand. Well, at least we're close to the top. So there's that. That would have been quite the thing. I always spawn in on pace partners on a climb. I don't know why. Like, I know I can look and see where they are, but it's just my luck. I'm getting close to level 98. We're getting there. I don't know why my left knee is being finicky. Weird. It's abnormal for it. Alright, 15 minutes. So we'll chill here for another 8 or so. And then we'll hop into pens. And do final prep. Get ourselves on the right bike and everything. Yeah, not too bad. We were at the bottom of Titan's Grove. That would have been unfortunate. But we're not. Come on, Bernie. Come on. Come on, Bernie. Let's go. There we go. I don't want to be too far ahead. Oh, thanks. How kind of you. I know I said I was close, but 10 XP doesn't really move the needle on that. I forgot, Bernie goes slow on downhills. By a fair margin. Granted, keeping up with me pretty well. Considering. Ah, Zwift pack dynamics. If I remember right, today's power-ups are either arrow or feather. I think. Slightly better than a ghost. Feels like this graph is incorrect. Because in yellow, we were doing negative. That doesn't feel accurate. In yellow, we should be doing like 3 to 4%. Oh, well. Yep, it's off. It's not correct. Because we're still going up and it shows that we should be going down. Oh, that's not helpful. Yep. That's concerning. Hopefully that's only in this segment. Otherwise, that's problematic. Gonna throw some people off. Because I know for me, that's planning. Like how I handle the rest of an uphill or downtime before an uphill. So that's not good. The only thing I can think of is teleporting broke it. Because it feels about the distance that I teleported off. I'd be interested. So that would be an interesting thing. So, I mean, I guess in a race, if that's the case, it would never be a problem. So, there's at least that if that's true. Which it feels like it might be. If I was guessing. Feels like an accurate guess. Just double checking that my saddle hasn't, or my seat post hasn't dropped. I'm always worried, even though I tighten it to spec, that I'm gonna look down and my saddle's gonna have dropped for some reason. I don't know, like, why. It's not how it works, but... No, Bernie. You gotta fight to catch up. You gotta work on it. You gotta do it yourself. Bernie's trying. Doesn't look like Bernie has got anybody. Well, maybe. I don't know. The icon's pretty big, so I can't tell. I was gonna say, it doesn't look like Bernie has anybody, but they might have a small group around them. So this should be the last really nasty route out of the Makuri Madness routes. Next week's should favor me a little bit more. It's a little bit more of a sprint flat course. This week is polar opposite. So that's going to be rough. That'll be an interesting experience to kind of go opposite for a bit. Alright, time to get some goo in. This is going to be a brutal start. A very brutal start. So it starts really hard, you get a little bit of ease, and then it just goes hard again. That's the theme of today's race. It's almost entirely up. Just some flat. So. The group will determine how hard this is on how hard they go on the climbs. And if they go hard... I'm in trouble. So let's just hope they are nice. Just take a nice, reasonable pace. But I know that's not going to happen. That's beyond wishful thinking. There's wishful thinking and then there's delusional thinking. That's on par with delusional. Just give one last good push. Okay. One last little spike. Push my heart rate up for a second again. Alright, how many people are in the fence already? It'll be a moment. Why does it show me so far back? There's not that many people. Nope, I want that one. I wonder if this is just how far back this sets you for this pen. Because that feels further back than normal. That's weird. Yeah, it's gotta be. Alright, I'll be right back, chat. 5.5 minutes. Let me go ahead and open up sauce so that it doesn't decide that it's gonna take forever all of a sudden. Fine, there's an update, and I keep forgetting to update. I'm sorry. I'm bad. I'll be right back, chat. Alright. I fully expect this is going to be a very brutal race. Oh, it's Erdner. We raced him last week. Think we beat him? I think. Dangerous assumptions. Oh my god, that route looks so much worse in this view. That looks so bad. On Zwift's view, it doesn't look that bad. Sauce, I don't like it. Oh, and I think Shu is the person that went ham like 2 weeks ago and went off the front and then exploded, so I hope they don't do that again. That would be unfortunate if they did. Because they went very ham very quickly. Let's hope that's not the case. Alright. Why am I all alone over here? What did I do to everybody? Alright, we've got 22 so far. I want to say Erdner, Neves, Chu. We've raced with Joe, I don't know. 25. Seriously, why am I all alone over here? What did I do? Oh, and it's Draft and Feather. That's very weird how far back we are. It's not normal. $17-kilometer neutral. That would still leave 500 meters of the climb. Alright, 13 seconds. Alright. This is gonna be rough. That's rough. Super deep on W bell. Oh, appreciate it. Yeah. Two more massive ones, though. But how you doing, Ethan? Now it's just time to try to recover. I don't know how there's 3 people ahead. That's insane. On the downhill, we should catch them. Cool, I have a feather. That's useful. Yeah, we're definitely gonna catch the first person here at least. Yeah, hold on for dear life. The honest thing is, be warmed up. The first, you come out of the gate, and it's about 1.3 kilometers until you get to the top. And it's pretty steep right at the end. It doesn't just get easier. There's a nice little pitch right at the end. So, second one, hope for a feather and survive. I know some people at the Temple KOM start are switching to gravel. If you're in a group, I wouldn't. If you're solo, maybe. And just try to hold out on any tarmac. Because the majority is either gravel or downhill tarmac after that. If I'm in this group, I'm not going to switch. If I'm off the back, I might. These two in front are probably not belonging in our category. That's my assumption. If they could clear that and stay away. With how deep I went for that first climb, we'll see if my legs are okay for more. Because that was deep. Another 100, 200 meters and I would have been gone. Yep. It really is. It's just so brutal because it's immediate. Man, I've been using my legs too much lately. 3 races in like 5 days and doing yard work, not a good mix. All right, here we go. The gradual start to the second one. Appreciate it. I'm probably gonna wait until we start the temple. Yes. There's a reason I did what I just did. I'm pretty cracked though. Yeah. That's explosion. My handlebars are soaked. It's bad. I don't know if I've seen my handlebars that bad. It's crazy how much climbing we still have. Oh yeah, it's nuts. I'm not a climber, so I knew it was a matter of time. Now I'm just here to finish. That's all. It is what it is at this point. I've gotten my fitness gains. Now it's just a route badge. This route is more brutal than I expected. Possibly. But that's also probably me too. I'm not overly concerned about position anymore. Now that I've fallen out of the front group, it's kind of irrelevant. There's so much more climbing left to do. I started today pretty fatigued. And I've gone negative W belt twice in this race. So... I'll be honest, I'm not too fussed anymore. How about where I finish? Now it's just a good tempo ride in. It'll make sense when I show the graph at the end. The tank has well and truly been dumped. All right. There we go. That was not a smooth transition. Oh, that map. I hate this climb. We've been at my FTP this entire race. Just to give an idea. Uh-huh. Yeah, I can see why many people are skipping. It's brutal. Almost 300 meters of climbing, and this short distance is rough. I'm mainly doing it because there's a route badge and for fitness. Oh yeah, it's brutal. I hate the tempo KOM. This thing is a bear. Last little bit. Exactly. There's no rhythm for this. It pitches and rolls so bad. And it's dirt, which makes it feel even slower. Oh, I'm blown. That was rough. That was a hard race. That was definitely dumping the tank. I'm going to enjoy the downhill, and then I'll show you the power profile for that race. Because that was brutal. Oh, you can see it in the bottom. There was no hiding. Oh, that hurt. That little peak of the graph should tell you something, because that's when I started easing off. Ugh. That was just a lot of power needed, and I don't have pure power. Oh. So yeah, I'm gonna enjoy getting my downhill kilometers, and then I'll pop open the actually, I could do it right now. I didn't even think it was gonna be that bad. That's bad. That's brutal. Oh my god. Yeah, no kidding. Oh, appreciate it, William. Oh, that was... Well, and let me know if you want me to call you Will or whatever. It'll take me a minute to get my oxygen back. Oh, God. Oh. I knew, like, I didn't want to talk about it too much. I knew from the beginning, though, that it wasn't, if I get dropped, it was just a matter of when. Because there's just too much climbing. And brutal climbing. Like, 6 to 8% climbs for long, drawn-out stretches, which I can do punchy, but that was just too much. Oh, my body is shaky. Oh. Whew. That was hard. That was harder than I expected, if I'm honest. I saw that graph, or I saw the route pop up in the pens, and I'm like, oh, that looks so much worse. Because I thought it was 222 meters of climbing, not 285 meters of climbing. Which does make a difference. 60-ish extra meters of climbing was basically that last pitch. Which is sizable. That is a sizable amount. All right. Oh, cool. I got kilometers out of it. Cool. I am curious to see one thing. Yeah. So, the reason I kept going really hard after I got dropped and then just pulled the pin is because I saw that there was almost 20 minutes. I had like 3 minutes left of effort. So I figured I'd just put down more effort and just go to 20 minutes. So that's 3 races, 3 FTP ups. I think I've gained like 3 or 4 watts on my FTP in the last week. So I'd say we're getting there. That's funny. Exactly. Yeah, no, there is... Once you get distance, the only time that you can catch up is if you're close at the top of the first climb. If you're within a second or two going into that little village, it tends to ease. But as soon as, like, and then you should be good going all the way to the next set of climbs at the base of the first time up the first part of the temple. But if you ever get distanced, it's over. The big thing, and I kind of did it, but at the same point I didn't really feel like it made a difference, is don't save a power-up if it might keep you with the group. It's worth dumping the power-up like a feather or a draft if it keeps you in contact. Because a power-up doesn't do you any good if you're not with the group. I'd rather use a power-up and stay with the group than get dropped and have a power-up. Oh, man. My legs are so tough. I've been so mean to my legs lately. Oh. Because I raced Thursday and I got an FTP up. I raced Saturday and got an FTP up. I raced today and got an FTP up. The funny thing is, every time I've gotten a boost to my FTP, but I've gotten dropped. And it's like, oh. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Unfortunately, I don't do enough standing climbing. So my heart rate spikes when I stand and actually increases my lactic acid. So I used to be lighter and I used to be a really punchy standing climber. But ever since I've kind of changed my climbing style and became better at punchy hills and sprints, I can't stand much. Like, it really shatters me, which is not great. I know it's something I should work on, but no, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm kind of shocked. I did not expect 3 race days and 3 FTP bumps. That's not common. But I did have to take like 4 months off the bike between March and July-ish. So I'm kind of just slowly getting back to where I should be. Slowly but surely. So it's just my body kind of coming back in and reacquainting itself. It's nice to see. It's always nice to have that consistent improvements. All right, I'm not gonna lie. I really don't feel like going this. It sounds terrible. I just want to spin. I don't even want to push pedals. I just need pure cadence in my legs. I don't need power in them right now. Because that's that thing of, it's always tough with that first pitch of a climb. That first one that's like over 1 kilometer long. You have to go so deep to stay that you punch your ticket pretty quick. And unfortunately, my legs just didn't come around. It's probably how much lactic and effort I've put in them in the last week. But it is what it is. I went into it figuring that it was going to be a good training effort. Next week should be more to my liking. Next week is a lot more flat. Because they've only been getting progressively harder out of the 3 race courses. The first, second, and third Makuri Madness. And this was kind of like the queen stage of the 3. And then next week is going to be really nice. So I'm looking forward to next week's. Next week should be a little bit more chill, hopefully. Be nice. Want a reprieve. That was just, as mentioned, that was just gut punches. It just never stopped. And it's also that thing of right now, people are slowly coming indoors. And so you have people that are coming into these races with their ZRS not really matching where they belong. And it'll take the system about a month or so to sort out, because it's also ZRL starting. So everybody's coming inside to start prepping for ZRL. I appreciate it, Ethan. Yeah, it's definitely the toughest course in the series. It's just so punchy. That first, like, I will always struggle with a course that literally gut punches you out of the gate. And that first climb is like, that route included 2 of my nemesis climbs. The first climb out of the gates up to the castle is brutal, because it's just straight out. And Zwift races always start fast, and you typically can count on like 500 to 1,000 meters down the road, they kind of settle out and people kind of get their group. But if you've got a climb going, you never get that settle, and it just stays strung out, and it's difficult to find the right tempo to kind of sag climb it. And then the tempo KOM is just the bane of my existence on Zwift. I can't stand the tempo KOM. It's dirt, super steep. It's a long drag. I realized I didn't change my bike. That's why I was having a hard time keeping up with the pace partner. See, my brain is not functioning. I'm like, because when I was with Bernie, I'm like, or no, was it Bernie? No, Taylor? Whichever one. I'm like, oh man, it feels like I'm not keeping up very well. Still on a gravel bike. That'll do it. But I think the right move was waiting until the second time we hit the temple to switch. Because the first time you can get some use out of it, but there's a lot of asphalt still to tackle. So I don't know. Depends on where you are in the group of whether I'd switch or not. If you're in the front group and nobody switches, don't switch. If you're off the back, switch. Like, I was with a group the first time, so I didn't want to switch. The second time, I'm like, nah, I'll switch. That was kind of how I reasoned it out of when to switch and when not to switch. And also, in the first time, was still within the 20 minutes, so I was trying to aim for an FTP up. Oops. But I mean, you can't tell me if you see that you're close to an FTP up, because I could see that I was on the threshold of a negative W bell. Who doesn't push for an FTP? If I was still in the group, I wouldn't. But when you're dropped, go for the FTP bump. Why not? Get that little mental boost to keep you going. Because once I see that I've crossed 20 minutes and I'm negative W bell, it almost guarantees that it's going to be an FTP increase. And I was -3, so I got a 3-watt increase. So, it was good. Gives you that little mental boost of your fitness is still on the rise. It's just you, unfortunately, are racing against people that are stronger. Yeah, I don't know. You know my solution? I just don't want to do it. Literally the only reason I was okay doing it today is because there was a route badge. If there wasn't a route badge attached to that stage, I probably wouldn't have raced it, honestly. It's that thing of, I'm going to have to get the route badge eventually, so the easiest and fastest way to do it is to race it, because then I'm not doing it alone. It's really all it is. So, that's kind of why once I got dropped, I'm like, it is what it is. I'm not just going to fold. I'm just going to get to the end so I get the badge. But I don't want to... Zwift, you're punishing me. Really? 10 XP? Exactly. That's my answer. For climbs that I don't like is just don't do them. It's a terrible solution. It doesn't make it so you ever get better at them, but it solves the immediate problem of not wanting to do them. My go-to. Because I don't know the last time I've raced the Tempo KOM. Even if it's in the tiny races, I love the tiny races. I will try to avoid it. Because it's a climb that I don't have any skill on with my current level of fitness, basically. The best way to explain it is with how I am as a rider, I'm never going to successfully beat people on it unless I'm in a lower category, which I'm one 0S away, or 1-0S point away from being lower category, which that'll be fun for one race until I get bumped up again. Because I'm like sitting at the threshold. No worries, appreciate you hanging out. I'm probably gonna head out here soon anyways. That's about good enough for me. I did a warm-up, I did my race, and I did a bit of a cool down, so I just wanted the 3 kilometers of going down the 4 KOM. But I always appreciate everybody hanging out and chatting with me during the race. I'll always try to commentate as much as I can, obviously between gasps of breath, just by nature. And then the next ride will probably be Thursday. Not sure what I'm going to do. Definitely will not be racing. And if you see me racing on Thursday, you have every right to yell at me. I should not be doing another race. I need a quiet day. So it might be a chill workout, some sort of route. If there's a group ride, I might do that. We'll see. Just kind of play it by ear and see what happens. But I'm done. I'm tired. That is shattered me. So appreciate everybody for joining. Hopefully you at least enjoyed watching me push for the FTP and getting an FTP pump, despite getting dropped for the 3rd race in a week. But it is what it is. I always go in with like trying to have reasonable expectations of what things might be, and I had no delusion of grandeur on this one that I had any chance of finishing with the front group. It was just a matter of how much could I hold on for, and that would be my workout for the day, of fight for as long as I could, and then yeah. So thank you, everybody. I will see you on Thursday if you come back for that, or possibly one of the days on the weekend. But appreciate you all, and have a good one.